Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us for today's session entitled Emerging Technologies' Impact on Digital Transformation in Life Sciences. My name is Kevin Miller, and I'm going to host today's session, and I'm pleased to be joined by some very knowledgeable and great speakers today, which I'll introduce in just a moment. Before we get it, you can go to the next slide, please. Before we get into the content for today, I do want to take a moment and introduce you to Asterix. We are a company that's been putting on a series of webinars now, it seems like for the better part of the last 18 months, bringing together thought leaders from a variety of different companies and countries to come in and lend their thoughts on digital transformation relative to life sciences and what's happening and where things are going from their perspective. So who is Asterix? Why are we putting this on? Well, for about the last 25 years, we brought out a unique breadth of highly specialized services, processes, and technology, which has enabled us to become a leading partner in transforming the way that science-based businesses succeed. We were established in 1995 and currently are vendor and platform agnostic. We represent lots of different technologies in the space. We have locations in the United States and overseas with about 1,200 employees. Greater than 90% of our team members hold advanced science degrees. We are very much a science-based organization. We have our headquarters in Red Bank, New Jersey. And the type of companies that we help are everyone from startups up to Fortune 1000. Predominantly, we're dealing with life science enterprises, but we also support chemical, CPG, government agencies, and research institutions as well. And we can go to the next slide, please. In terms of the different services that we bring to bear, we call it a service spectrum, and we support the continuum of scientific operations and data management. This is everything from strategic innovations and roadmap through enterprise architecture. This is where we're really kind of working with organizations to help them understand, what are the different strategies and what are the different technologies that they may need to bring them forward. We then engage with things like data management and governance. This is where we're implementing different strategies, methods, and frameworks to maximize value of digital assets. From there, we may get into business analysis, ensuring that you have the right people, processes, and technologies to optimize and help you transform these workflows and data, which incorporate organizational change management. From there, it could be solution selection services. This is where we may help you pick the different technologies that will ultimately make up your technology stack in your lab or your company. We can get into the actual development, implementation, and validation of these systems. And then finally, at the end, if need be, we can provide scientific and technical staffing to help you staff these, support these different technologies, or just provide scientific staffing in the lab if need be. So that's a little bit about Asterix. I do want to turn the attention now to our speakers. So let me take a moment and introduce our speakers for today. We have Michael Smart as a principal consultant at ResultWorks. Heather Adenolfi is also a senior consultant, and Dan Joyce, a senior consultant. I won't go through and read each of their very impressive bios. I don't want to take up too much time in the presentation. So from here, I'll just let Michael or Heather or Dan, whichever one you prefer, you guys can pick it up, and I'll pop back on at the end to help with the questions.
Yeah, Michael here. So thank you, Kevin. So we're going to talk about emerging technologies' impact on digital transformation in life sciences today. To set the stage for discussing emerging technologies, we work across R&D with numerous clients on digital transformation, digital readiness strategy programs. So while companies all have different starting points, there are many things that we see in common in the approach to digital transformation. First is the increased emphasis on understanding and employing innovative technologies and data sciences, not just in one function, but across larger segments of R&D. Second is the emphasis on leveraging information assets or data assets to better enable the business. And third is a consideration of emerging technologies, not standalone, but in concert with existing and planned infrastructure to optimize what technology can deliver to the business. That's the backdrop of the discussion today, emerging technologies. Here is a list of the technology areas that we'll review today, albeit at a very high level. And we'll start with the Big Data 2.0. So big data 2.0. So yes, high volume, high velocity, or high variety information assets that need cost-effective, flexible forms of information processing to enable enhanced insight and process automation. So big data is a term that's getting a little bit dated, but it's still very relevant. We do have data in life sciences that we would classify as big data, high in volume or in velocity or in variety. Examples that are listed here include genomics and increasing velocity of data in clinical from streaming and mobile apps, and increasingly high content analysis techniques being used in research, imaging, and single cell analysis are examples there. So the explosion of this health relevant data does enable new opportunity for R&D transformation, but it needs the tools to store, manage, and analyze that data. The technology trends and big data 2.0 is more and more focused on cloud and hybrid architecture to facilitate access and analysis of data. So, being able to bridge data that might be local or in the cloud and operate across those environments. Having clear data use, storage, and archiving strategies is important, and then data management strategies to support the variety of data ingestion patterns, continuous prospective data curation, prospective being the key word there, and then increasing application of AI and ML capabilities being added to data processing to increase the speed and minimize human interaction in this realm. Also, pushing more and more of the data processing to edge devices and systems is becoming more and more prevalent. We see more of that happening as well. I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is the enterprise data fabric. So, smart integration of disparate data from numerous sources that enables search and analysis. So, data integration becoming more highly automated using multiple technologies, such as semantic linked data models and machine learning algorithms, along with effective metadata management and strong data governance. So data fabric is a hot topic, sort of buzzword at the moment, along with various other terms like data meshes and things that are different, although often confused with the data fabric term. For us, data fabric is about creating that abstraction from underlying technology so that data can be exposed at the top level as business objects that are semantically related. But the underlying plumbing is there that allows us to assemble and integrate that data in a more intelligent and flexible way to allow the integration of new data sources and to find the most efficient pipelines to deliver that data. So the need is being driven by the diversity of data sources and constant changes in the data landscape. And people are actively pursuing data fabric. It's not just a thought exercise. There are several organizations in our field that are actively pursuing this type of approach. Data fabrics typically include machine learning to identify and connect business, technical and operational metadata together. They include recommendation engines that help identify what are the most efficient data pipelines for delivering new data. And again, the dynamic semantic modeling, data catalogs, minimize manual processing, enable rapid characterization of data while supplying coherent graphs for navigation across sources. And again, data governance is increasingly being recognized and implemented as a key enabler and requirement to facilitate all of this. You're going to move on to hyperautomation. So the use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning algorithmic capabilities to augment human understanding and efficiency, automate processes using workflow orchestration and robotic process automation technologies, and to increase efficiency, consistency, and compliance. Yeah, as you can see by these predictions, they point to the importance being placed on automation by organizations in life sciences and across industry in general. So hyperautomation really seeks to leverage and democratize the use of AML to find best fit data and suggest next steps. Such AI and ML needs to really be definable and trainable by end users, not just experts. The automation needs to be applied through workflow orchestration and robotic process automation tools, and it needs to be adaptive to user roles and task context. So applied to the activities as people are doing the activities, be able to augment their work. All right, I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is voice command and natural language processing.
Awesome, thanks, Michael. So you're probably familiar with the most popular and everyday tools. There we go. Okay. Things like smart speakers and apps like Alexa and Siri are pretty common today. But voice command and natural language processing are gaining ground in the pharma industry too. And thought this was kind of interesting. A recent article from Nature showed that 50% of scientists were actually not successful in reproducing their own work. And that number actually increases to 70% not successful when trying to reproduce someone else's work. So that's a major problem. And things like voice-to-text recognition can actually help to alleviate that pain by improving documentation and recall. So we are seeing that more organizations are adding capabilities in things like part-of-speech tagging, parsing, text conversion, and pattern matching. And if you couple those with technology like smart speakers and apps, sensors, and chatbots, that really translates to things like improved patient experience in clinical trials. Or in the lab, an Internet of Technology, speech recognition, and voice commands are being used to capture real-time observations directly into electronic lab notebooks. In regulatory and safety spaces, machine reading of unstructured content is helping to support regulatory intelligence and publication search, and ultimately the automation and generation of documents, including translation, and speeding that time to submission to health authorities. So we'll move on from here to the next, total experience.
Yes, and thank you. And so with total experience, this area extends what we commonly think of as user experience, and extending the technology piece in order to leverage things such as artificial intelligence, natural language processing, virtual and augmented reality technology, ultimately to come together to provide a more modern, immersive, and engaging user experience. Total experience is then bridging the gap between physical interactions and then the supporting technologies in order to provide more personalized, more kind of context-driven experiences. If we think about application design and all the various tools and technologies that various users have to interact with, poorly designed applications ultimately impact user adoption and can derail change management efforts. So with Total Experience, this is the drive towards using different advanced technologies, either separately or in combination, with the right user experience design to reduce barriers, reduce friction across multiple environments, multiple technologies, and ultimately aid digital transformation efforts. So within the technical landscape, it's important to consider establishing things like pre-approved technical capabilities, devices, applications, data transfer capabilities, more rapidly spin up technologies in support of work, while also ensuring that there are secure interactions, ensuring that there is identity confirmation and protections in place, and to also at the same time continually assess changes in the marketplace to ensure that cutting edge technologies can be leveraged as those come online and become more mature. And so next we will move on to non-classical computing. So the term here, non-classical computing, covers advances in computing technology, enabling scientists to run algorithms which would otherwise not be possible. Will help open up new opportunities in things like advanced modeling and simulation and permutation calculations. High performance computing is a fundamental enabler for things like big data, artificial intelligence, advanced simulations, and key to having specialized computer platforms, environments, and services are going to be required to bring that technology to scale. Life sciences companies can facilitate the orchestration and elasticity for rapid access to need-specific computing power on demand, coupled with new integrated in silico working environments and services. A strategy based on archetypes will also help accelerate value in the short term, enabling maximized attention to ensure both mid and long-term solutions. For example, there is need for on-demand compute environments, which would support kind of various analytics and modeling and data sciences use cases, as well as the ability to share model and share codes amongst collaborators, and to do so within repositories or quote unquote notebooks in order to both promote collaboration but also reusability of those modeling codes and artifacts. Additionally, companies must conceive integrated fabrics using technologies that overcome both the cumbersome silos associated with today's systems and be open to establishing preferred partnerships to cover the breadth of R&D needs, from contract service providers to academic and startup participants who may ultimately lead the run up to exascale and quantum computing. So next, we'll move on to our next topic, which is advanced analytics and simulation.
Awesome, thanks, Dan. When we think about advanced analytics, the main idea here is to progress beyond simple business intelligence and to power the advanced simulations by leveraging descriptive, predictive, or prescriptive analytics. And by implementing advanced analytics, companies are setting the foundation for automated decision-making and problem-solving. So across the industry, there really is a strong desire to leverage data that might otherwise sit dormant as things like legacy data, or it might feel too difficult to harness, like real-world evidence. And initiatives around predictive analytics, modeling, and simulation activities, such as clinical trial simulations or analytics and signal surveillance, can put all of that data to good use. So implementing a federated learning approach can help eliminate the need to do things like bring raw data in-house. And if you couple that with AI-driven automated model development, selection, training, parameter tuning and development, and add in insight engines, you can really do things like empower what we'd call citizen data scientists to learn more faster, and do it with less overhead. And that brings us to our next topic of composable architecture. So what do we mean when we talk about composable architecture? Well, really, we're talking about the ability to scale functionality in a more agile fashion. And we do that by building complex fit-for-function solutions, but without traditional point-to-point integrations or coding. So to do this, we need to shift the focus from monolithic software suites to best-in-breed solutions that are brought together as part of a unified platform ecosystem. And many of you may have already seen this trend growing as you look into new software solutions. And we do expect to see that continued growth as SaaS strategies and custom applications move towards a composable API first or API only designs. So you can think about starting to implement these principles by looking for those API first solutions and identifying places that you can eliminate those point-to-point integrations, areas of opportunity. By adopting a platform-centric composable architecture approach across all of research and development, organizations can reduce redundant capabilities, they can facilitate and accelerate artificial intelligence, and truly transform that user experience, and even orchestrate very complex workflows. So from here, I'll pass it back over to Dan and I'll talk to you about digital patient engagement.
Great, thank you, Heather. So with greater and greater emphasis on patient centricity, it's increasingly critical to engage with patients in the digital landscape. So finding ways to meet patients where they are, to better engage with and educate patients through their entire care journey. Patient centricity aims to address patient needs which may otherwise go by traditional trial methods. Technology approaches using telehealth or total experience, digital communication and engagement will help to support the entire patient experience. And for sponsors, these technologies also aid in speeding up clinical development, increasing patient access and better enrollment, and also capturing data that might otherwise be difficult or impossible to capture. And there certainly has been significant attention recently on decentralized clinical trials, especially because of COVID. So the key focus is on enabling patient flexibility, and we are seeing companies across the spectrum rethinking strategies to accommodate both patient-centric and site-centric approaches and to better connect with patients, and doing so through remote assessments, devices, point of care assessments, and combinations of those with traditional trial methods as well. Again, to try to meet patients where they're at and to accommodate slight challenges as well. Social media and other patient communities are another source for digital engagement, connecting with and educating patient populations. To enable digital patient engagement, there is a need to establish the technical capabilities, being able to provision devices, applications, manage data transfer, etc., as well as keeping the user experience in mind so as to best facilitate patient research to collect patient data and endpoints and support data innovation in clinical and translational and exploratory research, while assuring that there are secure interactions and ensuring data privacy and compliance at the same time. All right, so next we'll move to the Lab of the Future topic. So the Lab of the Future is an advanced technology-enabled environment that leverages devices, IoT, connect data, instruments, informatics systems to drive efficiency and compliance in lab research and science. The Lab of the Future connects researchers to environments for advanced simulations, virtual and augmented reality, while also connecting the physical lab with the digital world in order to enable lab personnel to access laboratory operational data from wherever they're working. The ubiquity of devices and technologies that are available ultimately will help create widespread research efficiency opportunities. Emerging trends point to the needs for connecting instrumentation, data, new and advanced digital environments, and foundational capabilities that enable any new type of device to be connected to the digital fabric will also be needed. To maximize the value of IoT, wearables, augmented reality, virtual reality capabilities, the data that's flowing from devices must be interoperable, and this can be accomplished by leveraging data integration technologies. In addition to technologies mentioning here, there need to be accompanying services to ensure appropriate device selection, device deployment, and ongoing support as the lab environment continues to evolve. And with that, we'll move on to our next topic, which is security and blockchain.
Okay, yes, picking up that one. So two sort of topics, security and blockchain related, so digitization and dynamic real-time enforcement of security policies in trusted secure environments like blockchain, ensuring data integrity and privacy compliance. Yeah, the two key security-focused technologies that we're sort of really highlighting here are, first, the use of metadata tagging to enable attribute-based security models and access enforcement. So somewhat related to the data fabric topic, where enabling a richer metadata to being captured for our data assets, and then part of that then is leveraging that in the security environment to again enable that attribute-based security modeling. And the second topic here is really, yes, use of blockchain effectively for securing that data. Life sciences has been pretty slow to adopt blockchain compared to other industries. As models are sort of complex, they're difficult to scale. There's somewhat of a lack of maybe blockchain expertise within the life science domain, although I think that's sort of changing a little bit. There are some emerging and deployed use cases in our industry, and we see commercial platforms for secure exchange of genomic information, allowing different labs to contribute to an individual's genomic blockchain record, and that the individual owns that information and can control the access and use of that information to other parties. Commercial drug serialization is another area. Partnership collaboration platforms, so where you have multiple parties working on a particular project or molecule, that allows for, blockchain can allow for data sharing while still allowing each company to protect its intellectual property rights. And then just generally using blockchain for data storage in architectures. Its storage mechanisms, the use of some block hashes and the checks that it encompasses, create a secure environment for storing data. I'm going to move on to our final topics. So, open collaboration.
Great, thank you, Michael. So the topic of open collaboration is really around leveraging secure technical information exchange platforms to better enable collaboration without borders and innovation ultimately beyond corporate walls. So when we think about this area, cost and competitive pressures coupled with gains in technology capabilities are compelling life sciences companies to use external partners and collaborators to drive innovation and improve product discovery, development, viability. These collaborations can range from kind of traditional closed models like outsourcing to open models, innovation incubation centers, and we're seeing that increase. The need for establishing these partnerships and collaborations will continue to rise. In order to support these relationships both efficiently and securely, companies are defining strategies for managing and establishing standard models, platforms, and environments, along with strong governance, both governance for process as well as security, and then operational procedures linked to contractual agreements. Secure technical environments are stood up, which can provide private data enclaves for each relationship and collaboration, coupled then with the ability to scale those enclaves as needed, along with then the technical capabilities that are going to help support bidirectional information sharing between in conducting experiments or studies. So with that, though, these platforms will require robust, smart security, taking into consideration today's digital workforce with appropriate authentication, access, and control, ultimately to, again, support these external relationships and collaborations over time. And so next, I think we're moving to our final topic on the list, the structured content authoring.
Awesome, thanks, Dan. Yes, last but certainly not least, and on the heels of our discussion on collaboration, how do we stay on the same page? Well, if we're talking literal pages, we might consider using structured content authoring to drive consistency and reduce manual efforts. Through the creation and management of standardized and approved content objects, we can establish a true golden copy, and we can ensure traceability where that content is used or even where it's modified. So you might be thinking of it as templating, but it's a lot more than just templates. Structured content authoring is really a method for storing, tagging, standardizing, and translating critical content. It drives consistency in documentation across therapeutic areas, indications, molecules, and more. And it does it through ensuring content is auditable, publishable, and approved. So that consistency provides a foundation for the generation of standardized documents through automated templates, but it can also set the stage for more advanced document authoring mechanisms like component authoring, natural language generation, and the smart contracts that Dan just mentioned as well. We're seeing a shift in the industry and an increased need to drive this efficiency really through a single source of truth. And this move towards fully traceable content inherently increases compliance visibility and decreases transcription errors. So more organizations are turning to content libraries and standardized templates as they work to achieve those goals. But if you look one step further, you could do something like apply a machine learning closed loop feedback, and organizations can continually build on their content models through this to improve on documentation, submissions, and communications, and even code. And that ultimately creates a self-improving ecosystem. So moving to the next slide, we've put a lot of information in front of you. We went through a lot of different topics. So this really begs the question, how are you considering the use of emerging technologies as part of your digital transformation strategy? And if you need help along the way, please feel free to reach out to us at ResultWorks and Asterix Business. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all three. Great presentation, a lot to think about, I think, for the attendees. So Michael and Heather and Dan, thank you again for some really insightful information. I'm going to take a moment here and we'll wrap the recording part of this up.